There are a squadron of Typhoons like the one behind me that are based here at RAF Akrotiri as part of Operation Shader. Their aim to combat Daesh in Iraq and Syria. Op Shader began on the 9th of August 2014. RAF C-130s carried out humanitarian air raid drops onto northern Iraq. The UK's first combat sorties against so-called Islamic State, or Daesh, started in September that year. Since then, the Royal Air Force has flown more than 8,000 sorties, providing airstrikes, surveillance, air-to-air refuelling and transport.
We have eight Typhoons. In addition to that, they are supported by Voyager, so that's an air-to-air refuelling aircraft. And the Typhoons, fundamentally can't operate without fuel, and so that tanker gets airborne every time the Typhoons get airborne to provide that fuel. We've also got an air mobility detachment because, of course, we have a number of elements on the ground still providing various sort of functions around Iraq that need resupply. Our operation is Op Shader, but we're supporting coalition efforts to support the government of Iraq. And within that coalition, obviously, we will support any of our partner nations who are in trouble.
The UK remains the second largest contributor behind the US. Personnel such as Flight Lieutenant Watmo have seen firsthand how the operation has changed over time.
My first tour of Shader, 2014, was very, very different to what it was now. I think we had over 2 million displaced Iraqis from Iraq that moved out. There was a humanitarian crisis that's up on Mount Sinjar, so they all moved out of Mosul, moved up to Sinjar, and it was just devastating to see from the air, and the ground picture was just almost chaotic, like across the entire AO, the area of operations. Just absolutely crazy. The lights, there was no lights on the ground, there was no cities, there was not normal life. Now, day and night, it's quiet. There's people say, you get airborne, there's no bombs coming off, there's no bullets being fired. Well, that's a good thing, right? That's we're now here. We're not dropping as nowhere near the levels that we were 9 years ago. So if no bombs are coming off the jets, ultimately that's a good job well done. Combat air isn't about always delivering effects. It's being there if needed, and if you're not needed to be called there and then that's a good thing. The ground picture is vastly improved. We're seeing lights, cities operating normally as people going to work, and things are happening. There's cars on the road. Which is very, very different from 2014-15.
With the world's eyes on Ukraine as Op Shader enters its 10th year in action, some will question the need for this mission to continue.
The fact that we have managed to suppress Daesh is probably because of what we've got out here, so I think it's the usual deterrent that keeping that capability that we have here at Cyprus will probably continue to suppress Daesh.
The knock-on effect of events in Europe can be seen in the skies of the Middle East.
We do get some interactions with the Russians. It has been somewhat different from what we're used to, that we'd never thought we'd see. So we are seeing not so much retaliation, but interactions now with more Russian aircraft in Syria when we're flying. Very complicated out there at the moment. We have a lot of different militias, government forces to try and ID and make sure we're hitting the right targets when we do it. And ultimately, we're employing a zero civilian casualty procedure out here, so we won't engage if there's any chance of civilians being engaged. So that's our top priority.
What does success look like for this military operation?
We're still delivering air power. We're still delivering a job, and watching people go to work at the end of the day in a country that was so destroyed 9 years ago is a great thing to see, and it's needed. It was needed, and it's a success story, I think, if anything, 9 years later, that we're still here, and normal life is happening in these countries, so it's good.
Op Shader is the UK's largest ever response to a single humanitarian crisis, with around £2.5 billion pledged to help those affected by the conflict. Sofie Cacoyannis, Forces News, RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus. Thanks for watching. For more from Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.